There we go. Okay, so let's just get on into it. Basically, today we're going to be talking about this business of fashion case study that kind of examines the whole market and rising of luxury e-commerce, which is super prevalent and important since, COVID forced everything to be online. And so it's kind of like an interesting conversation to see how the pandemic is affecting the rise of e-commerce and what to look out for in the future. And then, why can't I? There we go. Okay. So just a few announcements. I don't know if you guys know about this yet. I've announced it in a couple meetings, but this semester we will be working on a magazine. So we have decided on a theme for that. It's going to be all about dystopia. So super apocalyptic, talking about the state of social culture, and that could be in any form that you would like. It could be photography, art, articles, and then we're going to have a photo shoot for you to get any styling experience that you would like. And we will be sending out a Google form for sign-up, just kind of telling me what you guys want to submit, and you can submit more than one media. So we'll be sending that out in our newsletter, and that will be on our Instagram. And then we are also going to make submissions due February 28th, so the end of this month. And then also, if you need more time, just let me know. And then also member dues, we're going to make that due next Friday at 11:59 p.m. And that's going to be the $20 for this semester, and you can find that on our website too. And that's going to be through PayPal. So yeah. Okay, so starting off, it starts out talking about how, fashion business has been transformed from like family-run heritage brands to multi-million-dollar fashion powerhouses. So just in the past 20 years, the luxury market has just exploded. And here it says that the market was worth $310 billion in 2019, and it was an increase from $128 billion in 2000. COVID has shrunk this boom, but this article was written in March of 2020. So since COVID, I think that the luxury market's starting to pick up again, just because people are wanting to, buy clothes that make them feel good, even though they're stuck inside. So pre-COVID, these big fashion houses started to win over a new consumer. And this consumer was like obsessed with newness, exclusivity, and glamour. And they also were craving a high-touch retail experience, which again was kindled by the digital age. And actually one of the first people, like luxury fashion brands, to get into this digital world was Net-a-Porter in early 2000s, with Yeux not being too far behind, which is like a Milan brand, I'm pretty sure, that sold second season designer clothing. So currently today, the problem with this market is that the supply has started to outweigh the demand, specifically because there's a lot of chaos and fragmentation in the market, just because of how many competitors there are and how little of differentiation there is between brands. And then another problem that they highlighted was that discount culture has taken hold, which has actually been detrimental to these businesses. So the whole conversation of this case study is just how will these industry leaders adapt, and what will the next wave of luxury e-commerce look like? So just to give you guys a little bit of like context of the history of the market, so they start talking about this guy, Brendan Hoffman, who was one of the first people to launch a Neiman Marcus online initiative in around like 2002. He started out as a merchant for Lord & Taylor in the early 90s, and then worked his way up to Bergdorf Goodman, and then eventually Neiman Marcus. And they started to move into this e-commerce space after noticing the success of Net-a-Porter. And then also in the early 2000s, e-commerce was mostly on eBay, Amazon, and Dell, and many people were saying it was a terrible experience. And so because of that, it was really difficult to get European luxury brands to sell their goods on the internet. Where in that time, they were more focused on growing their department store presence and moving into international markets, specifically in China. And the whole luxury world was just about great in-person service and elaborate store designs. So also from the consumer perspective, many people weren't comfortable buying expensive items online without touching or trying them on, which I think is still a problem today, but it's definitely improved since then. But one of the first big luxury brands to move into this e-commerce space was Gucci, and they launched their own e-commerce website. But by 2008, consumer behavior had changed, and consumers were just used to browsing on, like a late Friday night. However, Net-a-Porter was still the front runner, and their claim to fame, the reason why they were so successful is because they were able to sell their products while kind of building a story around it using editorials. So they kind of merged magazines and just editorials with selling clothing, and that was really appealing to customers. They also had a great mix of selection and great customer service. And then they were so powerful at the time that even LVMH just left the market because they couldn't do as well as Net-a-Porter. And then this guy, Tom Chapman, he also said that at the time, it didn't seem like a good financial decision to move online. And they were more preoccupied with focusing on connecting with the customer. But in the first 10 years of online luxury, it was all about scarcity. Then the case study moves into how big could the market get. In the 2010s, the luxury market was all about growth. Net-a-Porter was still doing great. They sold a $62 million stake to Richemont, which is a competitor of Kering and LVMH, but they sell usually like jewelry and fine goods like that. But around this time, we were seeing other online retailers to start to move into the space. So Farfetch started to be developed in 2007. And what they did that other brands didn't, that's why they're so successful today, is they do a e-consignment model. So they don't actually have any inventory. They take a commission on sales in exchange for reach and spreading the brand to a huge platform. So while Net-a-Porter had all the big brands kind of selling through them, Farfetch was looking for independent luxury boutiques and small luxury brands. And it was appealing to them because of their reach. So you're starting to see a lot of competitors for Net-a-Porter, which ends up leading to their demise. Moda Operandi came about. They were more like a virtual trunk show. So they had a lot of they have a pre-order like platform model. And then Rent the Runway also came up, which played into the instant gratification that customers were craving. So the advantage for the brands that were doing well as a competitor was that if they had a unique view, they became the biggest competition. So people were trying to take what Net-a-Porter was doing and create a more unique view. And then in 2013, we started to see secondhand resellers, which also definitely changed the game, and it spread luxury fashion to the masses. So the Real and Vestiaire Collective became dominant in consignment and just in secondhand selling. And then Depop and Grailed became popular for younger consumers, as well as StockX, Stadium Goods, and Goat, which digitized the sale of hyped goods like streetwear and sneakers. So consumer behavior started to shift in that they didn't care who the seller was as long as the product was authentic. And then it became more normalized to buy expensive products online. And this is like a kind of an interesting statistic that at the time, while 90% of luxury goods were sold in stores, 75% of purchases were actually made online. So because of all of these insane amount of competition, the market became fragmented and chaotic. So now we're getting to the problem. The reach is not enough. So when Farfetch went public, it actually turned its business model into a company valued at 6.2 billion. So they boomed, they became successful really quickly, but it didn't last very long, and their shares dropped in like 11 months to less than half their listing price. And this was because they just started to have widening losses and plans to acquire another apparel production platform. And online shopping was no longer an exclusive experience because of this oversaturation of competition. So that consumer that was craving exclusivity and unique items were starting to lose that because these brands were selling in so many different multi-brand retailers. And this was was still a problem pre-COVID, even now. Even offline, especially with department stores, which is why department stores have been, just falling left and right. Every major retailer carried virtually the same products. And they listed an example of Balenciaga's Triple S sneaker, where if you look them up, to buy it online, you have the same shoe sold in like a million different places. And so that became a huge problem in this area. And then also luxury brands themselves started to compete with these multi-brand retailers because they were starting to have their own websites and selling their items online, and they were no longer wanting to do it through these retailers. And so because of that, there was a lot of bankruptcy happening, and also discount slashing. So a lot of these brands, even if you look at now like Farfetch, they have so many discounts every single day. They always have discounts. And that's kind of a result of this oversaturation. There was just too much supply and it was outweighing the demand. And then this was kind of a good quote from a former Net-a-Porter executive. They said, one of the mistakes many multi-brand retailers make was putting all of their money into performance marketing instead of brand building, counting on Google to give them their audience rather than cultivating an audience that's sticking or meaningful. So essentially they were focusing more on marketing rather than on the audience itself, and they were losing that touch with the customer. And then some brands have invested heavily in developing unique e-commerce experiences. Gucci comes to mind. They have an app that uses augmented reality to try on shoes. And that was kind of the conversation pre-COVID too, was kind of how to get this in-person experience online. And that's definitely boomed since COVID. And then another thing that they identify was the problem of Amazon, because Amazon has changed consumer expectations drastically. It's that instant gratification that they've made them greedy, and they expect items within days or even hours, and has forced brands to focus on logistics for multi-brand retailers. And it's just a very expensive thing to do. And that's another reason why these brands are failing. But e-concession seems to be the thing that's working, and why Farfetch is still doing very well, which is just not because you don't have to have a warehouse or anything. It's just kind of a deal between the brand and the retailer. So looking ahead, what does this look like today? How is it going to move forward? Success for brands is just dependent on their willingness to adapt and become more innovative, considering the direction of the market. So you just have to be flexible and just move as the market moves. In 2018, it was predicted that 25% of all personal luxury goods would be sold online by 2025. And COVID did accelerate this growth. Obviously, it propelled everybody to shop online, and it changed shopping behavior permanently. And then Farfetch believes that multi-brand retail will always have a place in luxury, as customers want new experiences and they want a diverse amount of brands. It just plays a vital role in engaging new customers with the brand. And there's an insane amount of engagement, offering an opportunity to communicate with the customer. So they also kind of bring up the idea of how do you break the pattern of consumers always choosing the cheapest? Because when it comes down to it, the consumer will always pick the lowest price, which isn't feasible right now for these brands that have so much supply of luxury goods. So they kind of list that limiting the audience or their customers to a small niche amount of people that are willing to pay the highest price is just the way to go. Like, kind of, they have to focus on their base customer and just giving them the best experience. And that's how luxury brands will make it out of this recession. So they list like 4 different categories on what to do and how it's going to change. Brand discovery is going to continue to diffuse. It's going to start to, it will still be decentralized and fragmented even further. So just because of how many different platforms and media outlets there are, through Instagram, print magazines, word of mouth, this will continue to increase. So the way to be ahead of the game on this is like brands like list.com and other fashion search engines, which make things efficient in shopping for items, are going to do really well. Number 2, they list that consolidation and contraction will accelerate. They say that customer reacquisition costs are high, so trying to reach the customer is really expensive, and there's no operating leverage for marketplaces and digital retailers. But consolidation is going to be the way to go in this area. So combining many different businesses into one, and it also combats that chaotic market that we've been talking about. The economy is still going to contract because of COVID. And again, this was written in March. So I think we're kind of getting out of that a little bit. But at the time, this was just their prediction. Even Neiman Marcus is exploring bankruptcy. I don't know if they still are either, but I kind of see that as I kind of see that as the future of department stores. It's just not working anymore. And then number 3 is that brands that survive need a new purpose. They just can't rely solely on their ability to pick cool brands and styles. They have to develop into like AI services or have some sort of personal styling or shopping service that makes the shopping experience engaging. And they also have to work on having an efficient delivery option to combat the Amazon efficiency. And then they also have to serve a smaller, more targeted audience, which is kind of what I mentioned earlier. Just target to those people that are less driven by discounts and more willing to pay premium. And less is more. That is the theme for the future. Just reduce the amount of inventory. No one wants to shop through 1,000 different, dresses or accessories. Just make it consolidated. And it also plays into that exclusivity. They said that too much discount creates fear and anxiety. I think on the business level, not on the consumer, because I love discounts, but I think that's what they meant by that. And if you do all of that, these brands' profitability will increase. And then they listed that Moda Operandi is pivoting, and that 50% of their sales was sales that were touched by a personal stylist or had some sort of styling engagement. And then 4, there's going to be new business models. Brands are going to have more e-control. So what they said here was that brands like, companies like LVMH are kind of cracking down on how many different brands are reselling their items and just selling them in so many different platforms. And they're cracking down on counterfeiters. And it's going to be a lot like secondhand car sales, I think is what they said, where it's just heavily controlled by the original brand. So I think that'll be interesting to see. And they're probably gonna, jack up the prices on that one. But that's kind of how their business model is gonna change. They just wanna regulate their presence in the marketplace. And then they also mentioned Rent the Runway again, and how rental services for clothes are gonna be very popular also, even more than they are now. And then this was just their final conclusion, that the great unknowns will shape more than expected. Strong brands with devoted customer bases report an increase in sales. Those that are driven by discounting had a 5 to 20% decrease and decline their e-commerce traffic. And they also mentioned that Amazon is still a threat, and they're trying to move into the luxury fashion market, which is kind of interesting because they want to have their claws in everything from groceries to luxury fashion. So we'll see what Amazon's going to do. But if they do, that's going to be a huge issue for these brands too. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you for listening to me talking your ear off. So let's get into a bit of a discussion. I'm just gonna stop sharing and then just read you guys the questions because I can see you better that way. 1 second. Okay, so any thoughts on this? I'm just kind of curious. I know that it's very like, you know, business lingo, but I found it really interesting. So do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I hope that they actually do make luxury goods more limited, because it seems like everyone and their mom owns something designer, and I guess it's not even like that cool. And it's probably also counterfeits that people have, but
Yeah.
it does seem not so hard to reach, and it's probably not even that exciting to have something designer anymore.
I agree. It's making it like not very exclusive, which is kind of the fun in fashion. No, I agree, especially with like them selling Louis Vuitton and Dillard's. Like that doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. It's like weird.
That's true. I didn't know that's weird. Dillard's is like the lowest.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say add on to that and say like, what do you think about like with like, you know, with reselling? So like I know like Depop has made it really easy. Like it seems like you can just hop on Depop and then like everybody gets, you know, their Vivienne Westwood like necklace or corset, and it's like everybody has that now because of Depop. I feel like.
Right. Like the Vivienne Westwood choker is like it's like overhyped now. Even though it's like an exclusive, beautiful piece, it's like basic. Like who would have thought? I think that's a great point too. But like how do you guys see the luxury market changing, especially like since being kind of on the end of COVID, I hope just a little bit further along than the article was written, kind of how have you seen things change in that aspect?
This isn't necessarily like something that has changed, but it's kind of something that I hope for. I hope that like luxury fashion brands can start making use of like artificial intelligence and like helping customers through AI. So that's something that I'm like excited for to come in the future. Obviously, like we're not there now, but I hope that brands have realized through COVID that that's like a really important business aspect that I think a lot of them are lacking.
No, I totally agree. Has anyone used the Gucci filter thing yet? Because I haven't. I didn't even know you could do that. Maybe it's like for their exclusive customers or something. But I don't know. I'm the type of person, I love in-person shopping. It's like my favorite pastime. So I think it's still a part of the question of online shopping is how do you make it more like in-person shopping? How do you fulfill that human connection that is missing within online shopping? I don't know, because the AI doesn't cut it for me, I have to say. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that either. I don't know. I think that like personal styling services is kind of getting more in that realm. You know, having a personal stylist just on the chat or like ready to help you, that's definitely going to make a huge difference and strengthen it.
Yeah, Neiman Marcus is investing in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're taking like their bailout money from their bankruptcy and like investing it all in online.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So they did file for bankruptcy then, hypothetically. Yeah, I don't know. It's really an interesting thing. I know that when things will get back to normal, I'm going to be like shopping in person again. But how have you guys seen maybe like consumer behavior changing in the past year?
I think they're going to be wanting more and more, especially with COVID around. They've been stuck inside and they've just been glued to their phones essentially. And you raised an interesting point with those brick and mortars. I feel like those are going to have to be offering a lot more for to get consumers to go there. They're going to have to kind of like build that bridge and, evolve things enough so the consumer who's comfortable standing at home shopping it makes them want to go there essentially. Like we were just talking about Rebecca Minkoff in my fashion merchandising class. I don't know if you recall her, but she's a designer, I believe, in New York. And she is just changing the game in terms of brick and mortar. Like her dressing rooms and her stores, they have this incorporation of technology that is just like beyond anything I've ever seen. Like you can there's smart mirrors in there. You can touch them and like have dresses brought to you instead of like reaching out and peeking like, oh, is anyone there? Can I get something really quick? But yeah, like I was saying, these brick and mortars, they're really gonna have to step up the game if they're gonna want the customers that come out of their shells again.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like Reformation also does that really well. Their dressing rooms are so cool too. A lot like Rebecca Minkoff's. Although Rebecca Minkoff, she had the like drink option too, right? I remember that. That's dope. That's really cool. But yeah, I think we're gonna see that even more than before. I think especially with like the like distancing and things like that, there's going to be a lot more artificial intelligence introduced. So that's also an interesting thing to consider. But I think that brands are going to like really hold off on the retail stores for a while, especially if they're new. And like, I think it's going to be more of the norm to start off online and then, try things out with a pop-up shop and then have like a brick and mortar way down the road. So like, I think that's something that's really shifted too. And then Mikkel said, I hope that luxury retailers can control or get rid of the amount of dupes that are sold off of Amazon because it is completely stealing and copying designs and another form of fast fashion. She finds it super annoying and everyone on TikTok has hyped up buying these products so much. Oh my God, thank you for saying that because I get so annoyed with those TikToks. Like it's like a trend to say things you need on Amazon right now. And it's like corsets and stuff made in like literally the worst parts of China. Like it's totally exploiting their workers. It's insane. And I can't believe it's a trend right now, which is interesting because I thought that like fast fashion was on the decline. So like, yeah, great point, Mikkel. I totally agree. Let's see. Leslie said, Gucci did a pop-up in Brooklyn with collaboration in North Face. Yes, that store was so cool too. I really wish I could visit it. Also, does anyone know Daily Paper? But their store was really cool too. So I think like stores are also gonna really incorporate a lot of art, like be very like interactive art gallery-esque type things, because that's again all about the experience. But yeah.
I wanted to interject there on like the art experience. When I first think of like art inside of like a store, I instinctively now think of Rick Owens with like his in-store literal like tables made of like 3D cast models of him and like chairs and like it's insane. It's insane. I just wanted to add on that.
No, that's such a great point. Yeah. It's gonna be cool. Like imagine Wonder Spaces as a store. Like something like that, or super Instagrammable, or just, something like that. Yeah, camp, exactly. If camp were a store, I feel like that's how it's gonna look like, because it's literally gonna be all about the experience. It can't just be about your curation skills. Carson said Rick Owens is my hero. Yes, he's amazing. Kayla said, I think it's a lack of education and ignorance. Oh, back on the Amazon thing. So many people still don't understand why Amazon apparel is so cheap. I'm just shocked by the amount of people who actually want to buy clothes off Amazon. Like, I don't know. That just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I feel like people just don't get why it's so cheap. Because I feel like I look back at 14-year-old me, I was using my allowance at Forever 21 clearance because that was like pre me watching all these fashion documentaries. Then I started watching those, and then it's like eyes open. But there's a lot of people who just still don't know that that's the thing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I forget about that because it's like all I think about. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I want to comment on all those TikToks and be like, hey, fast fashion is not okay, people.
Did like my English final all about like fast fashion, like a 40-minute podcast about it. Cause like, I don't know, like I kind of talked about how like when it comes to like college students and a lot of us, like I think there's a difference between like absolute, because there's a really big like pressure to fit in with the trends, but it's not always accessible unless it's like cheaply made. So people like use that kind of as like a way in. But like then people spend like $500 on Shein. I'm like, what's the point? Like
Right.
that somewhere is like more sustainable. And also I think with like consumer preferences, I feel like with designer brands, I feel like more and more people are like straying away from like logo mania because they want more like unique, cooler pieces. Like there's like the Gucci side of Gucci that like you'd see like Jeffree Star wearing, and then like the Gucci side of Gucci like Harry Styles wears. Like I feel like more people go to like more unique pieces too nowadays.
Well, especially in like people who are true fashion enthusiasts, I think, are kind of definitely steering away from the logo like flaunting, because like I don't know, like Jeffree Star makes Gucci look so tacky. I said it. Like I don't know, I hate that. So no, I totally agree with you. I actually did not see the Chanel show yet. I have barely looked at the runway, Vogue runway. What was your guys' favorite show, by the way? Has anyone looked at it yet?
I'm gonna look it up because I forgot what his name is. I think it's like Charles something. But we watched it in one of Danita's classes, and I literally got goosebumps. He was like a graduate from St. Martin's, and it was like a film, very artsy. So I'll look it up and put it in the chat.
Oh, that's another thing. How are you guys seeing runway change too? Like, I don't know, because a lot of people were saying that the original concept of runway shows were like dying, but they did it pretty much the same way. I think it's just more theatrical now. Let's see, Brooke said, I think that many people are uneducated about where fast fashion comes from and the harm it does. But also one reason many turn to it is because of the raiding of Goodwills and thrift stores for profit, thus taking away discounted clothes from people who would potentially buy it and wear it not for profit. Agreed. Yes. I'm like jumping from topic to topic. Yeah. Oh, someone had raised their hand. Carson Rowland. Do you want to
Yeah,
say?
I was just originally going to talk about when you were talking about the art of the collection, how I feel like these luxury brands are now pushing towards the unique pieces. Like I was going to say Virgil Abloh's Clouds collection, where it's they're one-of-one pieces that they're standalone pieces versus working in incorporation with other stuff.
Yes, one of one, definitely. Yeah, it's all about uniqueness, just being, and also authenticity too. I think that's a part of it.
Yeah, and if I could like add on to that, because I know in the presentation you're asking about like how do people compete with like the low prices and all the discounts, and like I remember last semester in one of my marketing classes, my professor was talking about like if you draw people in on like the price, they're gonna leave you for a competitor on price, you know. But if you draw them in on like quality, then they're gonna stay with you because like rather than the prices. So I think that's definitely like a lot of high-end brands already do that. Like there's only like 1,200 people in the world that actually buy couture and like the quality and like I don't know, but like yeah. So I definitely think it's about like the quality and what the brand represents in your brand. How you market your brand, what it all of that, like rather than what are your prices.
Yeah, no, yes, that's a great point. Yeah, it's definitely about like brand culture too, and it's branding is everything, and because it's like having a fan base, fans won't really leave you depending on what you do, and that's way more important than you know, having a great selection and great pricing and all of the original business models that people spread. What do you guys think that outdated brands like Neiman Marcus and Barney's, you know, could have done different so that maybe they wouldn't have gone bankrupt?
Not have a flagship store in New York that all their money was going to paying the rent.
Yeah.
Like that's why Barney's went out of business.
Isn't that funny? I like can't believe that. Does anyone else have any other thoughts? Well, I think also like they were really unwilling to cater to the young consumer, and like brands like Barney's was so used to forming their brand for that, you know, old money type of culture, and they were just so unwilling to change that I think that that ended up, you know, kicking them in the butt. And yeah, just they didn't want to develop high tech anything or invest. All their money was going to their flagship store and just keeping the tradition going. And I think that ended up being their demise. And Neiman Marcus did try and change, but I think in that sense, just the department store model in itself just was not working. And like department stores that are surviving this, like Saks, have huge like experience stuff in their stores. Like Saks Fifth Avenue has like a place where you can rent out for events like brunch or like a birthday party, and they have like a makeover area, and they have so many different things like that are so fun. Like, and it's also super artistic, that store, and that's also definitely giving them success. But yeah. Does anyone else have any other thoughts?
Where do you guys like see like the department store, like a department store's like future in like 10 years? Because you said like they're just like slowly dying. So I was just wondering like in like 10 years or so, like if it's just gonna be like a blank building, and then like maybe like more like pop-up shops can like fill in that space. I feel like
Yeah,
if like COVID ends. So
that's a great point. Like having pop-up shops, having small exclusive brands, you know, do a deal with them and have only them do a store. I don't know. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Who knows? They might just make a huge conversion online sales and have just like one huge store in New York or LA, or try to have something similar to that. Because like we've been saying, these department stores, they're dying, and they're trying to stay afloat by their fingernails. But I feel like they're just all going downhill, and yeah, there's just going to be empty warehouses pretty soon.
I also just feel like the whole concept is so dated. Like, I don't know, it's the same thing with like malls. Like, I don't know who goes to the, I don't know, maybe people do still go to the mall, but like, I don't know. I don't go to the mall like maybe it was something like in middle school, but I feel like these are like things from like the 80s, the 90s, you know, like older things where they were popular. But I feel like our generation and like maybe millennials too will like create the new experience, the new place to go.
Yeah, I don't go to malls anymore. It's the same because it's just all the same, and it's oversaturated and fast fashion. So, I think that that concept is definitely outdated. Kaylee, do you want to share that show? Maybe. Oh wait, I have to make you the thing. You can share your screen if you want. We can look at the show.
Oh my gosh, I was talking and on mute.
Oh.
Yeah, like screen share it. Yeah. Okay. Can you guys see it? Does it sound good?
Is there music? He's just spray painting, right?
Yeah, he just brings it.
All right.
Yeah, so I thought it was like a great example of the new haute couture, because instead of like these extravagant like beaded ball gowns that you can't wear to the non-existent galas, it's like quilted puffer pants and like printed tights and things like that, like things that maybe people who can afford to buy luxury can like wear like around the house or to their like casual at home gatherings and things like that. So I just feel like he really knew how to target the new haute couture customer.
Speaking of couture, did anyone see about like how Area said that they're like they did release their first couture collection?
I did, and I love Area. Like I've loved them for so long, and it blew me away. And yeah, Kayla, you brought up a great point, because it's almost like they've returned to the art of fashion, whereas it kind of was becoming more of just like rich clothes for rich people. But now it's definitely artistic and theatrical, and they've definitely like merged like every form of art into one medium, or just one campaign, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes it something like for me as like a fashion enthusiast to like strive to own like one of his pieces or something, because like yeah, it's cool to have like a t-shirt from like I don't know, Gucci or something, but it'd be so amazing to have like this work of art, you know, and he just, like you said, it brings the art back into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, does anyone else have any other thoughts they want to share or comments? If not, you guys can go early. It was a great session. Thank you guys. Oh, and also exec, just stay for a little bit.
Thank you for the presentation. It was really good.
Thanks. Hope you guys learned something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Is Phil Zoom user?
I am Zoom user.
It's very Phil of you to put Zoom user.
Good job, Lorena. That was a really great like presentation and like slides and everything.
Thanks, guys. I literally did it like I literally finished at 6:55. So
that was like an honors contract presentation. Very good.
Thank you, guys. So because of that, I don't really have an exec sheet for you, but I will make one and send it out. I just like wanted to talk about a few things. One, I made a networking event, Excel. So I'm going to share that with you guys, and then you can just start filling in all of the contacts and then signing up for who you want to reach out to. And then what else do we need to talk about? The Google form that I made for people to sign up. Basically, it just says like what you want to submit, and you can choose more than one thing, but it's like photography, illustration, graphics, anything like that. And then that way we can know how many people are interested and like what to expect with submissions.
You want exec to fill that out too?
Yeah, that would be helpful. Just because like I want to just see like the big picture.
I was wondering about that. Are we accepting submissions from like any locals, or do they have to be ASU students? Because I'm sure we're going to get people reaching out who don't go to ASU.
I was thinking it was just going to be members of the club.
I thought so too, yeah.
Like for being a paid member.
I like that, yeah.
What?
Like, isn't it like a perk of being a paid member or something? Because we only have a limited amount of pictures too.
Well, paid member was like they can get a free copy, or wait, no. Well, I was gonna make it open to everyone just because I want everyone to have the opportunity to like work on their skills and like have it be published, you know?
Okay. So like all members?
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's just keep it to that.
Well, only paid members get it for free. Or should we get it to everyone for free?
I don't know, because if people submit their work, they're probably gonna like want a copy, you know?
Yeah, well,
Maybe
I definitely think we should give it to the people who are in it and the paid members for free, and let's just think about it whether we should make everyone else pay like $5 or some shit.
we could also like make everyone else have like send them a free like downloadable PDF like copy of it.
That's a
That's
good
like
idea.
digital, and then that's like the sustainable, and then our limited amount of copies could be
Oh,
the
I
paid
like
members,
that.
stuff like that.
And then they could pay for the hard copy.
We could sell them.
Yeah, I mean,
I
100 is like a good amount. We could like send it to people, like give it to Fabric or something.
If we're getting 100, then we're gonna have a lot.
Yeah. But I'm really excited. Does anyone want to make a mood board? I wanted to give you guys like the opportunity if you want to do that. If not, I can, but
I would love to help with that. If you want, we could like collaborate on a Pinterest board and then maybe like, yeah, then from there make it a mood board.
okay. And then everyone send in like dystopian photos into like the group chat or something. So just be on the lookout for that. Hi, Phil. Okay, and then those dates that I literally like, it was tentative. I just made the decision last minute. But does that sound good to everyone? Like have the magazine submission be due at the end of this month, and then member dues due next Friday. Yeah? Or do we need more time for magazine submission?
Maybe more time.
More time?
Yeah, because there's probably people that want to like polish their work and all that.
Yeah. Okay. How about like mid-March?
We just have to. How do they say how long it takes to like print and ship them?
Let me see really quick.
Because the only thing that I was thinking about why we would maybe have to like delay it a bit, or not even like a lot, but just like a week, just like to maybe make sure we have time for the members photo shoot, to include that in there.
Right. Oh, true. I forgot about that actually. Yeah. I just like wanted to give us enough time to like put it all together.
Yeah.
Well then mid-March is sounding better.
It's looking like we could get it shipped to us within a week.
Wow, it's fast.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we need a month to put it together.
Yeah.
Right?
And I
we
guess
still need to see if we get the funding.
True.
So there's that too. So
That's true. But we also always have member dues, and we have like 400 in our bank account. I don't know.
Yeah. I just checked the PayPal. We got at least 4 more members this semester.
and we can always do, digital only if we can't afford like the print.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Which is like the whole thing that we talked about today. It's kind of funny.
And speaking of member dues, what do we want to do for merch this semester?
I love teas. I still want to do teas.
Yeah, we could do another t-shirt. And I was thinking, is there any way we could start compiling like maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 kind of people to contact for internships, just because we stated on the website that paid members get like exclusive kind of emails or info like for regarding internships, and I'll make sure we get at least one of those out.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start.
I will have Daniel do that since he's outreach, but I will be on the lookout for stuff too.
Yeah.
We can always look on like big websites like Business of Fashion. They have a jobs thing. But yeah, I'll just have Daniel be on that, and then I'll just think of like local people that might have an internship opportunity.
I think
know 3, so I'll message Daniel.
I think local also, like, I mean, you guys probably have seen it since it's in the fashion building, but they always have the signs for like the Dress for Success. They're looking for interns, like I think styling ones.
Okay, that's good. I really should have made an exec sheet, but let's just try and remember everything we're talking about.
We're recording, so that's good.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I think you could reach out to Fabric, Caden, and ask if
Yeah, they actually have one. I think it's paid. It's more of like a intro job. So
Wow.
Yeah, they had a flyer at the
Yeah. So yeah, just tell Daniel that
Mhm.
we're in the midst of getting like a list to be sent out to only the paid members.
Okay.
All right.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
So for merch, I just like thought of it off top. How do you feel about doing like ASU BOF mugs?
Mugs?
I'm down.
Yeah.
That's cool. We just applied for funding for keychains.
Yeah,
But
keychains too.
yeah, I might be able to add mugs to that because that is technically marketing stuff that we could possibly get covered. Because I know for apparel, they make you do it through certain vendors, which Sebastian and I would not want to do because he has this friend that gets like a really good discount through this weird ass website. But yeah, I'll look in the mugs. That's cool. You think you'd make up like a mock design?
Yeah. I can do that.
Okay, cool. And yeah, maybe even see if you can find a printer like on a website or something. Unless you want to attempt to do that yourself, but
That
I
is
I don't
fucking
know how to
insane.
fucking screen print on mugs.
I actually just ordered. I'm doing this shoot, and like part of it was like a mug that I printed a photo on. But I don't know. I feel like it was more of an individual thing rather than wholesale. It was like through like Walgreens.
Face masks, I'd be down.
Yeah, I asked my friends that were in front of me if they would actually wear face masks, and they said yeah. And if it's like a dope design, like they said pink too. But yeah. So if it's a dope design, I feel like I would want to wear it. Yeah. I don't know.
Me too.
Also, I feel like these, are always amazing. Like the tote bags we did, like I use them all the time.
Yeah.
All right, cool, sweet. Yeah,
I like
we got
mugs
a
too.
lot of options then.
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is what are we gonna do next week? Because I don't have anything scheduled for that. I've reached out to a bunch of different guest speakers, haven't heard back yet. I reached out to like Danita, people like that, to give me guest speakers. Kaden has one, but we don't have a date for that yet. Do we?
I also asked I can respond to my teacher, but also did you see the other person, Jennifer, or I think it's like Born Lu. I don't know, I forgot her last name, but she's an ASU alum, and like I met her because she was giving like a speech at this like scholarship luncheon that I was going to, and like she
Oh.
so she has experience with speaking, and like she has a really good motivational story about like she lost her parents her last year of college at ASU, and then like that inspired her to go to Parsons, and she interned um, Oscar de la Renta. She did like design for American Apparel, I think, or American Eagle. Like she went to like Christmas parties with Marc Jacobs and like sat behind like
Yes.
Anna Wintour
Yes.
last
Bring
week.
her in, please.
I'll send her a DM right now.
Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm just literally reaching out to people that I can think of, but still waiting to hear back. But what should we do next week?
Stop recording the meeting, by the way.
Oh,
Also.